guys, it's Godbars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 89th episode of my series where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it had, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. I've mentioned before how Eminem is possibly the only rapper in existence where, if you ask me on any given day how I feel about his music, I could say I like it or not depending on how I'm feeling. I discussed those conflicting feelings in my personal journey with M's music on my video for the Slim Shady LP, so I definitely recommend checking that one out first if you haven't seen it, as I'm not really going to break down those early days of first getting into him again on here. Also, it might give you a bit more context for where exactly he was at this time in his career and how the overwhelming reception coming from every possible corner negatively impacted him, even if it was a seemingly positive interaction like a fan asking for an autograph. What's great about his second album is now that he had the massive success of his debut under his belt, he had plenty of ammunition for the media, his critics, and angry parents. As the title implies, his first album was an introduction to Slim Shady, but the second album strips away that alter ego to introduce his audience and the whole world to himself. Obviously, he made his introduction on the previous project, but the Slim Shady character was just that, a character that he used as a vehicle to merge his real life with his dark fantasies. Here it feels like he's stepping out from behind the curtain and directly responding to the audience that pegged him as a bad role model. What really makes it work for me personally and not cross the boundary into corny territory is he actually has well argued and thought out points against these people and their logic or lack thereof. It would have been a bad look for the genre if he just stuck his middle fingers out and did the equivalent of blah blah blah, I can't hear you, I'm rich and famous, and obviously there's an element of that as to be expected, but for the most part he's just directly telling these parents why they're wrong. And I agree with him. His points about the mom and dad being responsible for what content their child consumes is 100% true, especially back then when you had to be of a certain age to even buy albums like this without an adult. My parents controlled what I listened to and watched when I was growing up, and by proxy, I wasn't exposed to much inappropriate music until I was older. Even the popular contemporary music I was familiar with, it was all the clean versions, and I didn't start listening to explicit music until later in middle school. It's not like my parents were insanely strict or beat me into it. I'm kind of grateful they put those training wheels on as a kid, but regardless, it absolutely isn't the rapper's responsibility to hold your child's hand and monitor their content. This is one of the themes that reoccurs across the album the most, but for me, the best response he has for his doubters comes on the track The Way I Am. His flow patterns are just masterful, and his verses just unravel perfectly over one of the many sinister piano-driven beats on here. This song also has one of my favorite M hooks, and I think it's the most concise piece of writing he ever sat down and penned in relation to critics and spiteful parents. It's simple yet extremely effective, and he sounds full of fire when he says, I am whatever you say I am. If I wasn't, why would they say I am? In the paper, the news, every day I am. Radio won't even play my jam, highlighting the sort of paradoxical position these celebrities can get put in, where it seems like no matter what move they make, they'll be criticized, which isn't exactly untrue. While the Slim Shady LP had its fair share of successful singles that brought fame and notoriety, the Marshall Mathers LP took him to an unprecedented level of fame through absolutely massive songs like The Real Slim Shady and Stan. I have to respect that even for those two songs, he didn't really tone down his personality or risky tendencies at all, with the former displaying his sense of humor while dismantling the rappers he felt were copying his style. The latter shows his talent for spinning a story, which happened to become arguably the most well-known story in modern hip-hop, spawning its own term, stan, that people use all the time. And I think it's up there with songs like Last Good Sleep or even Dance with the Devil in terms of emotional impact. I also appreciate the addition of the pencil sounds in the background, which really help you visualize this letter being written, though I will admit it is something I find slightly distracting at times when I'm thinking about it too much and can't phase it out. For the production side, M utilized some of the same names that helped make his debut a success, like FBT, Melman, the 45 King, and of course Dr. Dre. For me, there's really nothing on here that isn't a step up from his previous effort, from the personal and more raw tracks to the horrorcore style slaughterfests, where he's naming the most creative ways to murder you that he could come up with. And he's in good company with guest verses from the likes of Dre, Snoop, Dido, RBX, Dino Ray, Bizarre, and the rest of D12, Exhibit, Nate Dogg, and Sticky Fingers of Onyx, whose feature was so dope it actually forced M to rewrite his verse, which in my opinion still wasn't enough to best Sticky's top-notch energy and pen on this track. If you're doubtful, just take a listen to the schemes he throws together here. For example, when he says, "Life's a bitch, met her, fuck her if you let her, better come better than better to be a competitor. This vet is ahead of this shit. It's all redder, you deader and deader. A medic instead of the cheddars and creta. Settle vendetta with metal beretta from ghetto to ghetto. Evidence, nope, never leave a shred of." This is definitely M's most consistent and well executed project to me, and while these aren't the most imaginative picks, my three favorites would probably have to be Stan, Kim, and Bitch Please 2. I left out the real Slim Shady since I think we all know that one, but my honorable mentions include The Way I Am, Drug Ballad, Kill You, Who Knew, I'm Back, Marshall Mathers, Amityville, Criminal, and Remember Me. Thank you for watching my 89th video. We only have one more album left in this group to discuss, and as usual, I really tried to save the best for last. So check in to see what classic I finished this set off with, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite moments off of M's magnum opus are. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.